Hi, my name is Shark Punch. I work in film, television, and I produce digital content for the internet. For the last 15 years, I have been on this amazing journey in digital entertainment. From getting discovered by Michael Bay to working on the TV show Shameless as a dolly grip, and this show is about that continued journey. Every episode, I will share with you my thoughts on things that I love: gaming, technology, entertainment, and whatever other nonsense I can come up with. A steel phoenix rises from the ashes, stronger from the flames that forged it. I did it, so can you, and the journey starts right now. Steel Phoenix Podcast, Episode 2, our G10 Breakdown, Gaming, Technology, Entertainment, and Nonsense. I'm your host, Shark Punch 007, and here we go. Today, we're talking about something that's, we're going to end up talking about Cyberpunk again for the gaming section. I was on my live stream today, and I jumped into Bloomberg, and there's a bunch of reviews on there about Cyberpunk, and I always go to the high finance trades for material on cluelessness when it comes to the gaming industry. There's a massive amount of uninformed rhetoric, or lack thereof. The only articles about the gaming industry that were anywhere on the platform that I could find without spending a bunch of time digging was about Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red. They made a bunch of comparisons to Bethesda and Blizzard, Activision, and some other games that were quote-unquote blockbusters, Minecraft being the largest one cited. But then in their analysis, in their little chart, they gave no key to the chart, so we have no frame of reference for what are they talking about? Units sold, millions of dollars made. The frame of reference wasn't right because the person writing the article didn't care. The person writing the article, and it was two people that wrote the article, ironically, both Polish folks, and we didn't read the entire article on the show. I skimmed it, because I'm sure the people that they got to write the article are gamers. They know what they're talking about, and it's a thoroughly thought out and genuine article. My issue is not what they said about Cyberpunk. I'm sure it was accurate and concise, and a lot of things I agree with. My issue is that it's only one game. Bloomberg today decided that the only news anywhere in the gaming industry was CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077. That's part of the problem. It's part of the problem with Cyberpunk 2077. It's part of the problem with Halo, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Star Wars Squadrons, EVE Online, all games that I'm looking at that I have in front of me on my computer. It's part of the problems with Xbox and PlayStation. Microsoft just bought Bethesda, or the company Zen whatever, Zen Media, or whatever it is. The president of Bethesda has been Donald Trump's older brother. He's either a president of Zen Media or he's the president of Bethesda, one of the two. But he's in charge of Bethesda. Now, here you have a guy that's basically one down from an octogenarian who doesn't know jack shit about video games, even if he's mildly interested, is a high finance guy from New York whose entire family is spoon-fed golden shorts. what just what the fuck is he contributing to the conversation? How is he leading the charge? He's controlling all the corporate cronies that are necessary when a company gets to the size that Bethesda is. So the oversight or the consequences for when somebody makes a mistake at the lower end is going to be what? Nothing. They're going to leave those kids alone. They're not going to know when they're fucking something up. They're not going to know when something's wrong. You're not going to have a Steve Jobs-like interaction. Somebody who knows what something should look like and has a vision to guide the future of the products that you're creating isn't going to come down from their high horse and say, hey, listen, this is wrong. It needs to be a different way. So we get things like a not expanded Skyrim. I mean, isn't it telling? Isn't it really telling about what the audience actually wants when there's an entire community, a massive community of modders that mod Skyrim? They're not modding Elder Scrolls Online. They're modding Skyrim because what everybody wanted, what everybody was hoping for, what some of us were even hoping that Elder Scrolls Online was going to be, was Skyrim plus a bunch of new areas to explore. You know, when you hit the edge of the map, there's a road in the southern part of Skyrim that leaves Skyrim, goes over the mountains, and heads to a different area, and it says, you can't go here. That's the edge of the map. What we wanted is for you to take Skyrim, Bethesda, and take away the edge of the map. Give us a whole planet like Skyrim. And then the second thing you could add, let us play with our friends. But as the avatars we created. Okay, you did the Dragonborn questline, you did this questline, you did that questline. You know, when they enter the PvP world, you have a set questline, but the map doesn't change. The environment doesn't change. It's that same world. You know, Bethesda, you decide who wins in the Civil War in Skyrim. You decide who assassinates the Emperor or you know, what quest lines people can do. You could have made those decisions and tied it up all neatly. We would have rolled with it. Sure, people would have complained, but they would have played and played and played and played. People are still fucking playing Skyrim. What does that tell you? Instead of spending millions of dollars creating another version of World of Warcraft in the universe of the Elder Scrolls, you simply could have done this with Skyrim. Now, I'm curious, I'm very curious, if the Baldur's Gate people are going to make the same mistake, or if they're going to give us a version of Skyrim with Drizzt Do'Udrin, and I'm probably not pronouncing his name right, the R.A. Salvatore mythos, Icewind Dale, Menzo Barazet Pan, however the fuck you say that, the Drow Underdark cities. You know? Like, that whole storyline, or even the Dragonlance people could come out. I mean, there's a ton of fantasy stuff that could come out, model itself off the Skyrim engine, and just give us more content, and we would play the shit out of it. We would play it until our fingers ached and our eyes bled. Somebody got in there and said, look at the money that Blizzard's making. We need to make money like Blizzard. Let's do what Blizzard's doing. Let's copy Blizzard. Blizzard made the same fucking mistake. No, not with World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft remains a brilliant piece of gaming history. The mistake they made was with StarCraft and Warcraft originally. Two franchises that are in competition, kind of, in that they're the same kind of game, an RTS with a story mode. One's a space epic, a space opera. The other is fantasy adventure. Now, they tried to tie these things together, especially with World of Warcraft, which was cool. And, they've got some other things that pull from their whole catalog and allow you to be different characters, of which I'm speaking. Which is a good play. But then they went out and made a movie called World of Warcraft that had nothing to do with Arthas, Jaina Proudmoore, the Frozen Throne, Frostmourne Lingers, which is where they should have fucking started. Or they should have started setting that up. They went so far back, they went to the first game. Or they went to the mythos before the first game. Thinking that they were going to have time and money to pay for everything else. They should have finished what they started. But they didn't. Years have gone by. World of Warcraft as a movie is an embarrassment. It didn't make the money that it should have. And the fans are left going, oh, you idiots are just like the Final Fantasy people. You didn't give us what we actually wanted. We told you what we actually wanted, and you didn't listen. You did something else. Because you wanted to give us more than what we wanted, and we didn't like it, and oh, woe is me. Well, fans are fickle, you can just never understand them. If that's true, how the fuck is The Mandalorian working? How the fuck is Jon Favreau knocking it out of the park over and over and over again with different directors? George Lucas is back on set steering the ship. Kathleen Kennedy is there, but George is also there. They've brought in people that actually love Star Wars, love the story, and while KK's contract isn't up, she certainly isn't the loudest voice in the room anymore. It's obvious from the behind-the-scenes footage and everything else that Favreau's in, and Kennedy is not going to go anywhere because, let's face it, she's a legendary producer that has worked on some of the greatest films of all time. So she's never going to be gone. But I think it's fairly safe to say that Disney's learned their lesson. You don't get a show like The Mandalorian and the spin-offs that are coming. Because now we see what the formula is. We do have to give them what they want. And when we give them what they want, on this little tiny show that could, it becomes the highest rated show anywhere. Putting up fucking Game of Thrones numbers, and it's just The Mandalorian. It's a side character that they made up. The guest appearance by the deep fake Luke Skywalker, which I'm really suspicious that the person underneath the deep fake Luke Skywalker, the actual dude in the body, was Sebastian Stan. I'm extremely suspicious. He's part of the Marvel Universe. It would be very easy to plug him in there. I just think he's staying very quiet about it because right now they're filming the new Star Wars and they're not telling anybody. Or they're prepping to, because they're going to fix the trilogy. They're not going to explain it. They're just going to ignore it, and they're going to pick up where they left off. We're not going to get ourselves connected to, or it's going to be some small thing that's dismissed. Oh, that'll be a side story. It won't be the main quest line. And Carrie Fisher will die a different way. Somebody else will die a different way. There's all sorts of ways for them to spin themselves out of that. Oh, that whole story arc was just like a side quest that allows them to save Poe Dameron, that allows them to save all of these characters. And, oh, well, this is Emperor Palpatine's daughter. Okay, great. Can we get back to the main characters now? And we'll get back to the main characters, and we'll just kind of ignore that. And those other people from Star Wars will still show up, and everything will be fine. This has not happened in gaming. There hasn't been, because video games fail, they rise and fall all the time. A big open world game like Cyberpunk 2077, the story isn't over yet. The book's not written. I still play it, and I think the game is a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I'm also running it on a high-end PC. Henry Cavill's PC has a better graphics card than mine does, but I'd put Dark Matter up against his anytime. Or Darkstar, I'm sorry. Sorry, buddy. It's not... The glitches are few and far between. Crap. I'm sorry, I'm pausing. I've had a respiratory damage issue. I had my left lung, the lower lobe of my left lung sustained some internal damage. Long story. I guess it's a podcast. I should I should tell you the long story. I was having a coughing fit, a series of coughing fits, and I was coughing so hard my nose bled, and then the coughing fit stopped. I leaned back up. I was folded over from coughing so much, and when I leaned back up, a bunch of blood from my bloody nose went in, I believe, into my trachea and into my lungs, and so I coughed some more, but then I coughed up a bunch of blood and other material, and I think for some reason that caused an internal, there's a little hemorrhaging in my right, not my right, but my left side. And there's not much anybody can do for it. I kind of have to just take care of itself, not do anything that thins my blood, so no alcohol. I'm on a nebulizer at least twice a day, which after this podcast I'll probably have to go do a treatment. And then I sleep a lot. I'm also all sorts of medication and vitamins and stuff. So if I have to abruptly leave, that's why. No, but I'll come back and finish the show. The point is that there is a mindset that is not towards the quality of the game, and there's a mindset of shareholders, and we need to treat this like any other corporate entity. We're going to treat this the same way we treat film. We're going to treat this the same way we treat something else. It's just like a mobile platform, or it's an app. And video games are their own thing. This is our release date because it's got to come out sometime, right? It's got to come out. Well, is it console, PC, or is it both? Well, if it's both, then it's got to come out because it's going to be up against this, and that. All logical concerns. A game like Cyberpunk is a crafted piece of art. It's like a Stanley Kubrick movie. It should have taken 7, 8, 9 years to make. People would have been ravenous and freaking out, and then when they got into the in-game world, it would have been worth it. Right now, we have a rushed product that looks beautiful. It looks absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of game mechanics that work really well, that are wonderful. The world is huge. The environments are huge. There are things that are not big enough for my taste, but there's a lot of nice touches. There's a lot of things that, finally they figured this out. For instance, one of the things that they do that not a lot of other games do, in fact, I've never seen it anywhere, in a cityscape, you can jump on objects that are not part of a quest and use them to move to different levels within the city. It's not quite parkour, and the game doesn't make a big deal out of jumping or climbing. You walk up to something, you can probably climb it. Or you can jump off of something onto something else that's close enough for it's reasonable for you to jump to. And it doesn't take a lot of bullshit to accomplish this. It's not a lot of jumping in one place and, why can't I move? No, I gotta jump right here. Okay, look down. Okay, can I switch camera view? You don't have to do any of that shit. You go over the railing, you jump on something that looks like you should be able to jump on, and you land on it. You walk over the edge and you jump off of that. Oh, look, no health is lost. You didn't die. You jump off the edge of a building and it's 50 stories up. You fucking die. So it's practical, but it also is useful. And when escaping from enemies, if you're running down the freeway overpass and there's a bunch of containers, shipping containers, you jump on the top of the one that's the same level and then you jump down like fucking Cubert, land on the ground and go hide somewhere and they lose you. Just like they would in real fucking life. That part is amazing. There's a bunch of mechanics like that in the game that are amazing. Riding a motorcycle through a trash field and you run into a refrigerator and go flying over the handlebars of a motorcycle, that's amazing. That's real. The flat tire you would pick up after that, I'm glad they didn't include that part. There's a lot of stuff that works. Summoning your vehicle. I love it. I love being able to summon my vehicle from anywhere. It means I'm never fucking stranded somewhere. And the autopilot function in the vehicles makes sense. I wish that I could do that when I have a goal in mind and set the bike to autopilot so I didn't have to drive it. The complaints are many. One of my biggest complaints is that they're using the Grand Theft Auto system of driving, which in a game like this is not GTA. This is Cyberpunk. It's a different animal. It's its own animal. Let's own that. You want to use the 5-star system. Okay, that's adorable. We all understand that. That's easy to use. But at 1 star, the police aren't trying to arrest you. They're trying to murder you. And if you've had a car accident with somebody and anybody got hurt, took damage as a result of that car accident, some asshole jaywalking, or, you know, the traffic doesn't make sense. Sometimes somebody will sit at a green light and they won't move. And so you run into them, and then their car runs into somebody else, and all of a sudden you got a blue star. The cops show up out of nowhere, and they murder you. They don't arrest you. They don't talk to you. They don't give you a chance to bail yourself out. You just get murdered and have to go back to your respawn point. So what it is a waste of time. It's not doing anything but wasting time. And if you just pass the saves point, you literally start where you just took off. And it's like, what was the point of that? I didn't have to overcome something. I didn't learn something. It was a mistake that I got punished for. That's part of the game mechanics, because guess what? I'm using a keyboard and a mouse. Nothing here is pressure sensitive. Why do you have pressure sensitive consequences or mechanics in a game where I don't have the tools to do that? Oh, well, you can just tap. See, if you just tap, then it kind of acts like that. And then you got to hit the brake, which makes for wonky fucking unrealistic driving. Oh, well, I can get a steering wheel and gas pedals and a bunch of other shit to make it more realistic. Oh, okay, so it's definitely on me, and it's not on the game mechanics to have that be a fucking option. That should be an option, not the default. I'm just saying that that could be better. Make it so that the cops respond to an accident the way they normally would. They show up and talk and have questions. You're making these police officers essentially combat soldiers, which I understand. Guess what those cops wouldn't do? Give a fuck about hit and runs. They wouldn't show up and murder a person in hit and runs. They're dealing with cyber gangs and a bunch of other terrorist actions. They don't give a fuck about hit and runs. The cops now barely give a fuck about it, and that's the real world. You've got to, if you're going to set rules, you have to stick to your own rules. You can't adjust the rules and break your own fucking rules for no good reason. There's not a good reason why you're breaking that rule. Which makes me think that that whole mechanic was rushed. They plugged in something they knew, and they walked away from it because they had other pressing concerns, things they had to get to. This works, it's fine, it's no big deal, let's go to something else. Because they have bigger fish to fry. So I understand if that never gets fixed, I won't really be that upset. The consequence isn't huge, but it's one of those things that feels like a tell in a game that's so beautifully crafted. So here's my question. Here's something to ponder. Here's something to think about. And this takes us into the tech portion. We're rushing a release of a $100 million game. Okay? A company that's got one series that they've basically put everything into that's based off of a Polish legend, mythology. So their culture, their company, their people, their everything has gone into this. And it's now spun off into a successful TV series, which is great. And now they've got this game that's supposed to be the next level. This is supposed to take their company and put them in the same universe as Blizzard and Bethesda, which some of you may know, Bethesda just sold, or their parent company just sold to Microsoft for $7.5 billion. That's right, a company whose primary function was to oversee a video game company just sold for $7.5 billion. Billion with a B. You look up how much Jeff Bezos is worth, and then you look at the size of that deal. Now ask yourself how big gaming is. If somebody reached out to Tencent or Qualcomm, reach out to Qualcomm and ask them what percentage of the data that comes across their devices is video game based. It's not a small percentage. It's not low. Look at these massive companies in China and what percentage of their profits are based off of video games, are related to the video game world. Hundreds of billions of dollars. We're not, Wall Street pays attention to that, but they don't pay attention to the underlying principles that are generating that hundreds of millions of dollars. Every video game is 4 seconds of fun, repeated again and again and again. A bunch of us in the gaming community have heard that for years. Tech is evolving. It's changing. It's growing. It's not shrinking. It's not getting smaller. It's not getting less. It's not getting outmoded. The biggest game on the chart in the Bloomberg article was Minecraft. Minecraft is an 8-bit piece of shit, open world, do whatever you want game that is amazing, and people love it. And they spend hours and months in Minecraft making whole universes and having a true open world experience. You look at the game and it looks like a mistake. But in that simplicity, there is raw beauty, there's elegance, and there's genius. At some point, we are going to have the same thing, but it's going to look like Cyberpunk. When somebody gives us an open world that has the options of Minecraft, the ease of use of Minecraft, but the look of Cyberpunk, to that gaming company or that person will go the prize. We will see massive companies dethroned, and the oasis, as Steven Spielberg calls it, will be one step closer to being a reality, especially if this game that I'm talking about happens with VR. Make no mistake, all of this is coming. It is on its way. My issue right now, my biggest one with tech and Wall Street, is that they're looking at industry disruption technologies. Their own industry needs to be disrupted. The method by which we invest, the method by which we monetize things in the digital realm needs to change. Regulation in social media, for instance, needs to happen. It's got to happen. It absolutely has to happen. What's coming next is going to be worse. I've talked about this. There's a film called The Social Dilemma, which is on Netflix. I've had some people that are Republicans in the United States get mad at me and say, oh, it's leftist propaganda. Okay. I don't think it is. I think it's just a bunch of scared nerds trying to talk about shit that scares the crap out of them. Ask yourself why the nerds are leaving Silicon Valley. Why the hippie nerds, the leftist nerds, or whatever the fuck they are, because they don't say what their political affiliation is. Some of those people in the thing could be Republican. I don't know. The one guy that was the head of monetization for Facebook, he looks like a Republican to me, but whatever. There's definitely conservatives on there saying the same shit that the liberals are. So I don't think it's as much of agenda as... There's one person who, there's two people that talk about global warming and the whole thing. The rest of the time, they're talking about what everybody else is talking about. It will scare the shit out of you, and it should. It should be the number one priority in the United States right now. Ahead of COVID, ahead of the vaccine, this has to happen. It has to happen. The implications are very, very, very bad. We're not paying attention. If we don't get this right, the groundwork not only for our demise will be laid, but that means we're delaying something that should be happening now. So the next iteration to come out of tech, the next thing to disrupt communication, the next thing to disrupt entertainment and digital information, the next level, which is coming fast, it's on its way, is not going to have a blueprint for how we deal with it. This is our chance to create that foundation for how we deal with the next level, which will be the blueprint for how we deal with the next level, and then it's going to cap out. We have 2 or 3 jumps we can make, and then our technology is going to peak. What's going to come next after that? Well, what comes next after that is hard to fathom. It's hard to even discuss. But we know through human history, if you don't lay a foundation, the tower crumbles. Right now is the chance for us to lay the foundation. Right now is the chance for us to act responsibly, do the right thing, look ourselves in the eye and say, the mortality rate of the young women across the globe because of body issues and social media is direct. There's a correlation. And preteen suicide has gone through the fucking roof because teenagers have access to social media. And if the parents are both working 2 jobs, if the parents are gone and it's up to a nanny who's got 3 kids to take care of, your 14-year-old shouldn't be on TikTok. I'm sorry. I know they love TikTok. I know it's part of their business model. How many teenage suicides has there been directly related to TikTok since the app launched? How many teenage suicides since Twitter, Facebook, Instagram? The numbers are staggering. They're painful. They're shameful. We had to learn this lesson with television. We had to learn this lesson with reading. And we ignored it. We did a little bit with TV, we did a little bit with radio, but it was a different time. There were the majority, and I mean the majority, a lot of people who had a voice, in American culture at least, were overwhelmingly conservative on the surface. Whatever they were inside, wherever they were behind closed doors, on the surface they were overwhelmingly conservative. So a conservative agenda was at the forefront and considered normal. That's what we had. With that came regulation and oversight, morality councils, and things that acted as the collective conscience, our conscience collectively. Many times it wasn't good. Many times it was destructive. Many times that organization, like the MPAA, was founded in corruption and continued to operate in corruption. I don't know if it is now. There's been some changes at the MPAA, and there's some interesting people that are members over there now that I think are overseeing things, and it's probably a little more balanced. But it definitely was broken for a long time. Now the question becomes, what are we going to do about tech and its evolution? What are we going to do about tech and its evolution and Wall Street rushing the release of tech so that they can have fun with margins, so their profit portfolio can take an uptick, so that they can have a bunch of articles on Bloomberg and other fucking outlets and freak out about things that they're not actually going to take time to understand, but just predicting the tick. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? Are there going to be more investments, less investments? Are they going to crank out a product? All surface things that a bunch of people that are making money off of it, that have nothing to do with it, are controlling its fate and damaging the product and damaging the consumer. There's a reason that the Federal Trade Commission exists. There's a reason the Securities Exchange Commission exists. I'm not a huge fan of overregulation. If a deal's a good deal, I want people to make it and make money. I don't want to stop people from making money. I don't want to stop people from making legitimate transactions. But there has to be balance. There has to be a balance. People talk about balance, and what ends up happening is a stranglehold on capitalism. That's not what I want, and that's not what I think we need. Right now, in social media, there's nothing. There's zero. Congress has believed the lies of people like Mark Zuckerberg, who said, it's up to us to regulate this. Do you let your teenager regulate themselves on their grades? They're going to lie. It's what kids do. It doesn't make them bad, it just makes them children. That's what Mark Zuckerberg is. He's a guy at Harvard, got drunk, created an app to objectify women, walked across the quad, found two blue blood douchebags to invest in his app because they wanted to do a similar thing with their fraternity, stole their idea and took his own idea, meshed it into a third idea, took their money, and created something called Facebook. When he looked at MySpace, realized, I can just make MySpace the same infrastructure with different colors, different marketing, and add a block button. And that's what he did. A few years later, MySpace is what Tom designed it to be, and someplace for bands to go, which no bands go as far as I know, and is not what it could have been, which is a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut. It's got a better name, the idea is better, but it sits quietly doing nothing, and Facebook is ruining the world. Because Zuckerberg got too much money too soon, didn't have enough life lessons as a human, and kept getting handed things. He wasn't even working as hard as Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, sitting in a garage making some amazing hardware. The point is, when you develop something like this, and you don't suffer for your work, you don't earn it, you're missing out on lessons. You're missing out on things that will help you do a better job, that will help you have a conscience, that will help you look at the bigger picture. And now we're stuck with tech evolution that is unbridled, which it should be in terms of growth, but it's unbridled in the sense that we don't know how to respond. We don't know what to do with it once it happens. It happens and we just let it go. And then when it wreaks havoc, we go, oh no, this new thing we made wreaked havoc. Well, it's made out of spikes and teeth. Of course it's going to wreak havoc. You didn't give it any tools to do anything with. It has no arms. It has no legs. It's just a ball of spikes, teeth, and death. Oh, I wonder why it's doing that. Give it some arms and legs. Give it something else to do. Put it in a yard. Give it some grass to cut. I don't know if you guys got lost in that metaphor. The point is, if you build something, if you make something, and its only purpose, its inherent purpose is murder. If I take this sword, I have a broadsword that sits next to me. It's a battle-ready practice sword that I will use when COVID's up. I'm going to use for training so that I can do fantasy adventure movies and know what I'm talking about when I'm writing sword fights. I also have to do it for novels. I'm going to train with a sword master by a gentleman by the name of Michael Moody, if he'll take me on as a client, and I will sword fight with him. The sword that I'm sitting next to is for that purpose. Now, I can take this sword and go chop somebody in half, or I can chop down a tree. What I do with it is up to me. What I'm allowed to do with it is up to the law. What I'm supposed to do with it is up to the law. There are laws regarding this two-handed bladed weapon. It's not just what can it do, it's what it's supposed to do. What is social media supposed to do? It's supposed to be a platform for people to speak their mind. It's supposed to be a space for humans to exist digitally as a digital representation of themselves. What they think, pictures, text, videos, whatever. That's social media. That's its point. Children are often not ready for this. I don't think kids should have access to all social media. Some things are okay, some things are not. There needs to be better regulations. You also need to have regulations on who's allowed to buy advertisements. You also need to have regulations on who's allowed to sell our attention. If you're selling my attention to someone and I'm not getting a kickback for that, you're making money off of me that I'm not consciously participating in. Therefore, I cannot consent to it. Facebook, Instagram, same company. Anything that does attention ads, attention-based advertising, and holds lotteries for our attention span based off of, oh, this person's doing this now, and the algorithm generates an ad based off of what they think I'm doing because my attention is currently on their app. That's got to change. It's too easy to manipulate things like elections and political opinions. It's too easy for enemies with lots of money to go after people they don't like, things they don't like. Imagine if someone with money, decided to run a smear campaign against a teenager. So you have a rich teenager, you have a poor teenager. Rich teenager's parents find out that their kid doesn't like the poor teenager. And so they run a bunch of Facebook ads. They run a bunch of social media ads that target and destroy the poor person's family. The things they like to do. Stress them out. Go after them personally and privately. Oh, well, you get them for slander. You couldn't because they're just using Facebook's ad system the way it was designed to use legally. With no regulation. And if they're not specific, they can still manipulate and destroy somebody. Again, this is rich people hurting poor people and getting away with it. And we're all just acting like it's okay. And no, the answer isn't just, oh, well, let's switch governmental systems and become a communist republic. Okay. That's a non-starter conversation. That's not going to go anywhere. All right, final bit of e-news. We're jumping into entertainment. I'm really excited about this because this is real and it's coming to me. We have today some of the updates I got during the live stream. I stepped away for a minute. Some of the producing updates I got were there is a digital, the volume. If you know what the Mandalorian is filmed in a digital wall stage called the volume. They are high resolution LED walls that are programmable and brilliant and allow the Mandalorian to be in a bunch of different environments and scenarios and backdrops with lighting options and complex landscapes that change at the whim of the creatives, which is beautiful. They can do interiors, exteriors, whatever you want. They can do it. And it saves millions of dollars. The volume is expensive to build, but once it's built, we have them in Chicago. I've just found out they're being built. They are African-American owned, African-American operated on the south side, and they are extensive. I will be going to look at these stages soon. I will live stream this soon. Stay tuned. It's going to be fucking life-changing if it is what I think it is. If it's the people I think it is definitely a whole new world, and somebody did it, and it came to me. It came to me. I tried to talk to the biggest studio head here about it, and I got a lot of, oh, that's interesting, that's good to know. Kind of the, I don't know, typical response I get when I tell someone, hey, you need to look at this, and they just gonna, oh, okay, I'll check it out, and then they don't do anything with it. That's not why I'm telling you. I'm telling you because you need to do something with it, and you have the money. I'm a guy in a basement. I mean, yes, I am technically a co-executive producer and producing on films, but I'm not a studio head. I don't have millions of dollars. I'm not abnormally wealthy. I'm doing what all of you are doing and doing the best I can. You know, food's on the table, food's in my belly, bills are paid. We are nowhere near where we want to be and nowhere near where our talents are going to take us, which is great. It's exciting to be at this stage of the journey. So we will be able to get into this. This level of entertainment evolution ties into the other things I'm talking about, in that the entire spectrum of entertainment is about to evolve. The entire spectrum is going places it's never gone before, and it's going quickly. It's going fast. We absolutely have to have a system in place for how to deal with that sociologically. And then we need to figure out how to get the money people to get the fuck out of the way. Whether they're turning everyone loose and allowing chaos to happen because they're uneducated about the product they're buying into, or they're too controlling and trying to make something that doesn't work. Now, that second one I don't think is happening as much anymore, because that's what they did at the beginning of tech. You could say that they did that, and that kind of got over in 2000 to 2010. Those mistakes happened enough that the money guys figured out to leave the tech guys alone. The problem is that now you have tech guys running around who can do things but don't necessarily have any kind of vision. They're not a visionary. They're not a dreamer. They're not a person who has a big plan. They're not a person who's looking at things macro sense. They're looking at the houses they can buy and the jets and the boats and all the other shit. But their vision for the company is not there. Maybe they have some leadership skills, but the vision for the company is not there. The vision for the product isn't there. I quote this, and it's one of my sayings, and it's something I hold dear to my heart, and it's written over my hometown, the theater in my hometown, the Redlands Bowl. And in stone it says above the theater, without vision, a people perish. You have to have vision. You have to know where you're going. You have to have a plan. You have to have somebody that's steering the ship that can see past the horizon towards the goal. Yes, you need the people that connect the dots and go point to point to point. Absolutely. But they cannot be the only people on your ship. You have to have visionaries, or it doesn't work. And when you have those visionaries, you have to trust them. You have to believe in them. Yes, you have to fight them when they're wrong. But you have to give them the benefit of the doubt more times than not. And the key to that kind of leadership is enable your visionaries. Keep your visionaries fed. Keep them enabled. And let them go. There's people, I'm sure, at CD Projekt Red who know what Cyberpunk can be and are taking a lot of the backlash personally. And there's a lot of people working sleepless nights in a lot of pain and frustration. And I would encourage them to not give up. We love this game. We love this game. The people that are playing it that I'm talking to absolutely love it. There are mistakes, but this is just the first chapter of the live experience of Cyberpunk. That's all it is. It's not even the first chapter of the story of Cyberpunk. That started years ago. That's great. If we're still in the first act of Cyberpunk, if we're getting into the second act, if we're going to say it's a 3-act structure, that's amazing. We haven't hit the climax yet. So if that's true, if I'm right about that, I would encourage them to press on, to move forward, to not give up, to be encouraged, and keep grinding out some of the best content we've ever seen. It'll get better. It'll get dialed in. Last thing, if you're going to advertise sex all over the place and let people mess with their genitals in their character game, then there needs to be sex all over the place. I found 2 hookers so far. Lots of pretend porn everywhere and 2 hookers. Lots of violence that doesn't make any sense, and magic cops that show up behind you and shoot you in the back of the head. But only 2 hookers. It's odd. It's very fucking bizarre. I'm not saying you have to have more hookers, maybe less sex advertisements. I don't know. The whole thing of dog food and boobies, that's kind of funny. Whatever. You'll figure it out. Whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be great. Our last thing today, our nonsense portion. This is one of mine. It is arena gaming. Arena gaming is what happens when you mix virtual reality, World Wrestling Entertainment, motion capture suits, and alternate reality kits. The ARC system is the system I'm inventing. It's what I'm doing over here. It's going slow. I'm one person, and I'm out of solder. I have to buy more solder, or at least find my spool. It's in here fucking somewhere, but the dungeon's a mess. Anyways, I want you to imagine this, okay? Just come with me in the nonsense portion. That's nonsensical dreamland, where you imagine that there is an arena full of people. And this arena full of people is in sections. Every person's sectioned off. There's people watching at home. And then in the middle of the arena, let's just take the United Center. There is a battleground. There's fog. And this is the Battle of Helm's Deep. Or it's the Battle of the Five Armies. All right? Lord of the Rings, Battle of the Five Armies. Except on one side, you have Brock Lesnar. On the other side, you have Dwayne Johnson. And so on and so forth. You have famous people dressed head to toe in battle armor. And they are going to run at each other with swords and spears and axes and hit each other full speed. And you are going to be able to fly around anywhere in the battle zone and watch any fight, any sub-fight, anywhere in the battlefield. And when you look at it with your arc system, it's going to look like a great orc is fighting a great human swordsman or whatever. Or a great elf. And it's going to be ultra high resolution. It'll be rendered in Unreal Engine 5. And if you have a system at home or if you're at a remote gaming center, you can be one of the people in the battlefield. If you're a mage, there's rules for being a mage. There's refs going around that can freeze your body armor. I came up with this concept in 2000. Kind of had the seeds for it in 2004, 2003, somewhere. Just right at the beginning of the early 2000s, it took place. I really wrote it down for the first time, probably 2004, 2005. I've been sitting on that for 15 years. No, G4 Tech was a big inspiration to me, and when it went off the air, I had a deluge of let's get things done and just started writing down all my ideas again, which I used to do in engineering school in 1999 and 2000. That's when I was in college. And now we have the tools to do this, which means it's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to be the one to create it, but I'm speaking it out into the universe because I'm 41, going to be 42. My health is not what it was, and it's better that this exists somewhere than that it doesn't. I would love to be the guy to do it. I would love to be able to be rich enough to do all the ideas I have and make those things come to fruition, but that's not always our reality in this life. Sometimes you have to be the visionary and you have to let somebody else fulfill the vision because, well, that's how being poor works. That's how starting from zero and moving up works. Jerry Berry, my partner in crime, tells me all the time, don't give it away, don't give it away, don't give it away. If I hold it and it sits in my journals, then I'm like Tesla. He's inspired a lot of people, but there's a lot of questions he answered that are just sitting. They're classified or they're unknown or we don't know what to do with them and we can't ask him the question, hey Nikolai, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Because he was a singularity. He was here and then he was gone, just like someday I'll be and someday all of you will be. The information will live forever. So by putting it out there in the ethos, by speaking it with my own voice, by saying it, saying what I mean and being clear about it, then people can have those questions answered and it's not ambiguous. They can get to work on it. They can start working in that direction. They can start getting things done. They can be inspired. Jocko Willink talks about doing more and being more. Yes, go do more. Go be more. If you're a person that's in line with the things that I'm talking about and you like the things that I like and you're into the things that I'm talking about, Be inspired by them. Don't let anything stop you, and go create it. If I can help you, I will. I'm trying to do it myself. It's part of the point of this show. The Steel Phoenix rises after getting burnt, stronger from the burning, stronger from the experience, forged by the fire that burned it, refined by the fire that burned it. It reforges itself in its rebirth and rises stronger. So the whole point of the Steel Phoenix is to rise stronger. Learn from the things that hurt you. Learn from the things that are mistakes. Learn from the things that you do that are wrong. Learn to own it yourself. 100% accountability when you fuck up. To the people that matter the most, mostly the person in between your ears. That person's got to own it first. Then it can own it to the people that matter. And then you can move on. You move up. Don't make the mistake again. Go forward and do great things. And it's possible. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm nobody. I'm nobody greater or less than any of you. Everything that exists in me exists in you. You can do anything. You deserve to do anything. Give yourself permission to do that thing that you love. Give yourself permission. You have a right to do great things. People are not going to allow you to do it, and they shouldn't. You should learn the lessons you need to learn to achieve those great things. And it is a process, and it is slow. The number one thing I've learned about all of this is that it takes time. Nothing that is worth doing happens fast. It will seem like it when you've been doing the hard work and you've been grinding away. Then an opportunity all of a sudden shows up because you were doing the right thing consistently over and over again. All of a sudden you got a break, and then you get another one and another one. So it will seem like it's fast, but when you look back at it, you'll say, oh wait, I've been doing this for months, weeks, years. I've put the time in. I actually deserve this. And if you're at the beginning of that journey, that's amazing, because the process, that's the stuff that dreams are made out of, and that's the quality of life that you really want, to be working on the dream. Oh, that's a lot of words. I gotta drink some water here. My chest is starting to ache a little. These podcasts so far are only going to be an hour. I'll get them longer. They'll be longer when I have more people, more guests. And as I go through the process, it'll get longer and longer. But we're keeping them short for now. They're an hour long. You know, just like a TV show. I break it down into 4 subjects: gaming, technology, entertainment, and nonsense. This is episode 2. I'm Shark Punch 007. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I appreciate you all. I wish you great things, and I'll see you next time on the Steel Phoenix Show.